This is a full episode of the Philcast. If you like this type of content, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe up, and watch the podcast all the way through so the YouTube algorithm knows that the community wants to see more videos like this. Alrighty, everybody, we got a special guest here on the Philcast. Of course, we got MacroBioBoi over here. Round of applause from everybody. The crowd goes wild. How's it going, my man?
I'm having a great day, Phil. A lot of work done, but I guess that's just a day in the life.
Oh, of course, yeah, a lot of work done. That's staying productive. That's always good, always good. So for today, you streamed earlier today, right?
I actually didn't stream earlier today. I had too many IRL things that got in the way. And when you hit me up saying, "Hey, you want to be on the podcast?" Perfect excuse to skip stream.
No, I got you. I was originally not going to, and then I was like, I'm bored for like an hour. I'll go do some Stony Tomb runs. You know, why not, right? Why not? So, yeah, so we got to jump into the first question. What does Sweet Phil get wrong about Diablo 2 Resurrected?
What does Sweet Phil get wrong about? So I want everybody to understand this real quick because people might not expect this. I watch everything everybody puts out. I watch every video. If Sweet Phil has put out a video, I've watched it.
Really?
I watch a lot of content because I want to make sure that I'm just keeping up with what the kids are saying nowadays. And honestly, I really appreciate your approach to playing the game and how you communicate information. What do you get wrong? I mean, other than like
No,
very
I was kind of joking
technical.
about the question, but yeah, what do you?
No, I mean, like literally, nobody can be 100% right about Diablo 2 because we're talking about a game where none of the mechanics make sense and all the points are made up. So yeah, no, nothing.
Speaking of people not being right all the time, I am an expert at not being right all the time. My chat can confirm this. I misremember things. I forget so much stuff. But I'm gonna go ahead and give you a compliment here. You definitely are like borderline encyclopedia from what I've seen. I don't know. Maybe I just don't dive into it as much. But I can't find enough time to watch everybody's videos. I'm gonna be perfectly honest. So, but I definitely see when I see an interesting title from you, I definitely got to hop on there and check out because I know that unlike Sweet Phil, you literally do know everything. I look stuff up all the time when making videos. Google something real quick. But I know, and there is one thing. One day, not necessarily right here today. You got to show me how to map read Act 3 someday, or somebody does, anyways.
Okay.
But
Yeah, absolutely, man.
the outside of Act 3, because I know you do a little bit of speed running, right? So you have more of a knowledge on it than I do.
Yeah. Well, first off, thank you for the. I mean, thank you very much, man. I also look up everything everywhere. That's why I write it all down. That's the secret of being a scientist. You figure stuff out so you can write it down, so you can forget it, so you have enough room in your head to remember when your birthday is and when to eat. But yeah, I appreciate that, man. And yeah, we can look up about Act 3. It's Act 3 has got to be after speedrunning for the number of years that I did, I'd actually say that Act 3 is my favorite part of the speedrun. So I think it's like the only interesting set of maps in the game. Everything else is kind of like go to a corner and take a left, but there's like there's an artistry to Act 3.
Yeah, that go in and take a left. That's the kind of map reading I'm good at. You know what I mean? So that's the type of map reading I'm good at. But
I mean, it's gonna treat you well. It's like 90% of the maps in the game, so you've got it down on lock.
right, yeah, for sure. So with and since in Diablo 2 Resurrected and Diablo 2, the speed running I'm talking about, what is like your favorite aspect or way to play? Because like me personally, if anyone who's seen any of my videos, you've seen the videos, magic finding is primarily what I do. When I do playthroughs, I kind of try to go through the motions of what speedrunners do to try to test my memory on stuff. But what is your favorite? Would it be the initial playthrough on a ladder reset? Is it the trying to get the fastest time on a speed run or something like that? What's your favorite D2 type of play?
Yeah, if I'm playing with people, I would say that the ladder start is one of the few things that I actually really enjoy doing in the game, time and time again. I love the competitive part of it. I love just picking up gear as you go, and it's like, oh, we can make a single spirit, throw that on the sorceress, and oh, we happen to get an extra Tal rune, so we can make another stealth. Like that kind of in the moment to moment, like itemization and optimization. I like that kind of stuff. When I'm just playing the game and it's not a ladder reset, I only like to break the game at this point. I am not the farm LK until I get an Enigma type of player. Actually, fun fact, I don't think I've ever personally made an Enigma, an Infinity, or a Grief. I've never made those rune words. You think I would have at this point? I just kind of don't have the patience for it. So that's why I always end up running super budget builds and here's how to do with as few items as possible. It's because I don't have the items. That's the secret. I just don't drop loot. Yeah, but trying to break the game, playing it in really weird ways. The pacifist, obviously, like that was kind of my bread and butter for a long time. Now that it's done, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I assume just do it again, but in some other crazy way. But yeah, ladder resets and weird challenge runs.
Gotcha. Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I know that's it's kind of a cool thing about Diablo 2 that there's just so many. There's quite a few different aspects for people will talk that, oh, there's no end game or whatever for Diablo 2, but it really kind of goes on forever the way that I view it anyways, whether you're um another shout out, another cool guy, coolly doing PvP stuff, or if you're some psychopath like me that just grinds and grinds and grinds the same spot over and over again, hoping that these certain colored pixels drop in the right spot, or whatever, or if you're trying to break the world record for a speed run or something. There's just different avenues and different alleys, and that's a really important thing to Diablo 2, especially the longevity. In one of my Diablo 4 video that I made the other day about the survey thing that got leaked, it's one of the things that almost came to my mind like last minute, when I was kind of like coming into the outro, but it was like, think of the number of times that we have bought the same, like I have Diablo 2 on CD, the original I bought it, the digital, for because my new computer doesn't even have a CD-ROM drive, so I never got one. But just, you buy, so many people bought the game multiple times because it's so amazing and there's so much longevity and so much different stuff you could do on it.
I think that is really important. Just to like double down on that, the game doesn't have any end game by modern day standards, by like modern video game RPG standards. I think it's a fair statement to say that Diablo 2 is lacking an end game, but it's in reality Diablo 2 has two kinds of end game. It has PvP, which is, constantly changing in a meta, so that's effectively eternal. And then you getting to play the game again now that you know more about it, right? Like so many people are just like, oh, I just want to do Blizzard Sork and Hammerden. It's like, well, now that you actually like know how to build a character, have you tried Melee? And after you try that, after you've done this, have you tried a hybrid build? It's a really really good sandbox. It's like playing D&D, but you don't need six people to get together once a week for 8 hours. You can kind of just make your character and go play it. So I agree with you there. It does have an end game. You just need to be a specific type of player to enjoy the end game that it has.
Yeah, I guess it's not a structured end game is what it is. It's not, the game is telling you what the end game, what you need to do for, but it's, I and you I guess I kind of the idea that you said it takes a special kind of player or whatever. Yeah, not everybody would be able to latch on to a non-guided end game like in Diablo 2. So that's a very very great statement right there, I'd have to say. So speaking of, about the D4 survey thing that I made the video on the other day. What are your, and it doesn't, not necessarily about the video I made or whatever, but what would you say your opinions on what you know about, have heard of it or whatever? Like, what are your overall takes on what you've heard of D4 so far?
All right. And I assume I'm in the minority, especially if we're talking about Diablo 2 kind of fanatic, fans, right? Because the when I say D2 is a specific type of special player, I also mean it has a very we'll say enthusiastic player base. They want specific things. My favorite video games back when I could actually spend time playing them were MMOs. I loved MMOs. I started playing EverQuest with my dad and his friends when I was 9 or 10 years old. And then I played World of Warcraft until I finally, kicked the addiction back sometime after college. And I am not offended by the concept of what if we took Diablo and we made it an MMO. So I like the idea of needing to group up with people to go into dungeons. I like the idea of, yes, you can trade for some stuff, and I assume there will be crafting because we haven't seen a lot about what that is. But if you're looking for your best in slot gear, you got to go do the content. You got to go farm the stuff and you got to drop it, whether it's in your group or if it drops just to you. I'm not exactly sure that they've, you know, buttoned down exactly what they want to look like. But the idea of it being more of an open world, randomly generated dungeons, there are static parts of the world map that you can travel to. I like that. I really like all of that, and I'm excited for it. Other than that, I think that the aesthetic is making like a full return to Diablo 2 if it had modern graphics. So it's a lot darker, it's a lot more gothic. It's kind of less cartoonish than Diablo 3 is, which I definitely appreciate. But overall, I'm just very excited about the game, and I'm not necessarily interested in getting, pre-pissed or pre-upset at what I think the game might be, because a lot of people are determining what the game is without seeing it and being like, "Well, I'm already mad about this." And I'm like, "Well, we literally don't know if that exists or not, guys." But yeah, I'm really excited for it.
All right. Yeah, I would say I'm not to where those people are that you mentioned, like super upset. I would say I'm like excitedly worried, I guess. Just because of a lot of like newer games, like in the last 10 years, it's a reason I kind of came back to playing Diablo 2. I just haven't really liked a lot of the games, to be perfectly honest, even if it's stuff that's not even remotely like Diablo 2. Like I used to play Halo and Call of Duty all the time. And even the newer ones of those, like the grappling hooks and the jetpacks and stuff, it's just, it just, and all those different types of games. So that's the only thing that kind of worries me. And I do agree with the look of D4. It doesn't look like Diablo Immortal. There's no pinks and purple like spells and stuff, and woo. But it's really hard to tell until like you get your hands on it. So that's what I'm not trying to go over the top with my worry or whatever. It seemed as though from like the leaked survey thing or whatever, it looks like they are kind of sticking to their word, and obviously things could change, but that none of the microtransaction stuff is going to be any gear or any experience and stuff like that. So that is a pretty big deal, just because I can steer clear of that. But I've talked to people. I mean, it's people I meet on the internet or whatever. So believe what you hear from people on the internet. Like only believe people you hear got YouTube videos.
Perfect, absolutely. We've
but yeah,
never lied, I promise.
people who can't have struggles with the gambling addiction type stuff, where they can't help but like, oh well, if I just do another dollar, then I can get an extra skin in a week because I'll get extra battle points or whatever. You know how that stuff goes. So
Yeah.
um it's almost like if too much of the community gets too upset, then it like kind of spoils it for everybody, I guess you could say, is one thing that I would be kind of worried about, because I have no problem not spending money. That's kind of one of my hobbies, is not spending money. So
Yeah. It's definitely in my top 3 things I love to do is not spend money. No, and I hear you. I mean, I think there's like a much bigger, almost like societal conversation about microtransactions and gambling in games and gambling itself. I'm not gonna touch it. Uh, I don't like spending money. I would much rather grind the game until I get the thing, because I've played with cheat codes on in games before. It bores me. I don't really like doing it personally myself. I also don't really shame anybody who wants to do that. You want to spend $100,000 in a game, you spend $100,000 in a game. You live your life. But I'm over here buying Kit Kats and Reese's Pieces. So I'm not about to judge anybody else. But I definitely agree. From what we have seen, MTX is like at worst going to be for like quality of life type stuff, probably like a PoE model, stash space, currency tab, maybe something like that. That's what I assume the worst of it would be. And then cosmetics. Again, I come from World of Warcraft, so maybe I'm just indoctrinated already, where paying money for skins and cool mounts was fine. Not that I ever did it because I was poor, but I don't have any problems with that. You want to sell me a cool dragon mount and it's $5? Sure, whatever. I don't, people want to spend money on that, let them. But yeah, I'm also excited because I mean, look, I'm not saying it's going to be perfect, but especially with what happened with Diablo Immortal, I think Diablo 4 needs to do a lot of work for Blizzard as far as how the community regards them and what they think about them as a, a game developer and publisher. So I'm just going to be hopeful that we don't see anything too shifty going on.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. Yeah, that they have some mending to do. Yeah, with the community or whatever. Because I mean, Diablo Immortal was free, and I couldn't imagine. It's something that does kind of rub me the wrong way too. But that the game's gonna cost $60 hypothetically or whatever, and then there's gonna be the battle pass, and then there's gonna be the skins, and having a battle pass like a it's not a mandatory monthly fee or thing, whatever, but you have a monthly fee to get the like possibly get the skins or something. I'm not 100% how it's going to work, but that was in the survey thing that there was going to be a battle pass for it, a game that you're paying $40 to $80 for, somewhere in between there. So it's kind of, once again, reserve. I'm not like, but it's kind of like, eyebrow raise.
Yeah. I mean, just to touch on that again real quick. Again, if you played WoW, you bought the game, you bought every expansion, and you paid a monthly fee um, just to be able to log in. So again, I might just be used to it. That doesn't. I'm down with buying a battle pass in most every game, especially a free to play game. In a free to play game, I consider buying the battle pass the way of me paying back the dev.
I kind of
I
understand
understand why
the
people
free
don't,
game. Yeah, I kind of understand that for sure.
but again, we'll see what it looks like.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to buy skins. You don't even need to buy the battle pass, probably, if there is one. If there are, you know what I mean? It's still very, very nebulous.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely could change it. It was on the leaked email survey thing that. But anyways, yeah, and I never did play WoW. I picked. I actually, how did that go? I was gonna get WoW. All my friends were like, I don't know, wouldn't say begging me, but mentioned it or whatever. And it wasn't it $15 a month? Is that sound about right?
Yeah, like $10 or $15 a month. I forget what it was,
Yeah,
and you could like buy a year at a discount price or
yeah.
something.
I was like, what? I'll play Diablo 2. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
I fed that game for years already. So, but yeah, that's what I would say. Yeah, cautiously optimistic is kind of the land that I fall into here. So, or we get a little off topic. I got my little paper here with all my
yeah, sure.
sweet question ideas. Hobbies. What hobbies outside of Diablo 2 do you do? I know that streaming and videos and stuff takes up a lot of time, but there's
Yeah,
always got to be other stuff, right?
yeah. Sleeping, remembering to eat, sometimes looking at my girlfriend. No, so I'm a nerd all the way down. So I make weekend getaways to go play D&D with friends. I do live action role play. So that's D&D in the woods. You know that guy like lightning bolt, lightning bolt. I LARP with that guy. Shout outs to him. He's actually a pretty cool dude.
Okay, all
And
right.
so yeah, I play dress up in the woods. I play a lot of Magic the Gathering. So even more nerdery. It's like chess, but with 10,000 different pieces. Um, what else do I do? I don't know. I do parkour. I can like jump off a building and stuff. I think that's, or at least I used to be able to. It's been
I was gonna say,
a
how old are
little
you
bit
again?
since I'm 32 now. I'm
Oh,
32, but
old man over here.
yeah, I was a parkour instructor in college, and I kind of mess around with it every once in a while.
Oh, that's crazy. Okay, yeah.
But yeah, like no, honestly, I mean, I started streaming because I loved video games, and then I made video games my job, which was a mistake. But I do still like playing them as well. I play a lot of like survival games and strategy games
Uh-huh.
and like
Gotcha.
card-based games.
Thanks, darling. Wife
What are we
brought me
drinking
another
on?
beer.
Sweet baby Jesus, I love it.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Peanut butter chocolate porter. Yeah. So yeah, the parkour stuff, that's kind of interesting. That's one of those things that I kind of, because I used to like skateboard and stuff, so it wasn't in the same category necessarily, but I was always like athletic and I skateboarded and stuff, so it was like one of them things that I would like think about trying and stuff, but then I always felt like, I don't know, it wasn't cool or something, so I just never went towards it or anything like that. But yeah, for like my hobbies and stuff, I was so mixed around, and like my friends were never like a lot into video games. Like every dude was into like Call of Duty and stuff and Halo. first person shooters, like blow them up, yeah, any guy
Yeah,
can
of
get into
course.
that. But then when you're like, oh, you're helmets and swords, and you're like, whatever, bro, stuff like that. So that's what playing Diablo 2. I really didn't have I didn't have like any friends. I didn't know anybody who played any Diablo 2 games or anything like that. So I play a lot on single player, and that's what I used to play online. But I'd play online, kind of what I hear from a lot of people. I'd play online by myself all the time. So that's kind of, I think, what evolved into me playing Diablo 2, like single player a lot. But yeah, I was always a lot into sports. Now that I'm old, 35 here, I'm almost 36 years old. It's like almost
There we
retirement
go.
age over here.
Almost my dad's age.
Oh, nice. But yeah, that's
That's
wait till you're my age, all your hair will go away in
Oh yeah,
three.
I'm ready for it,
No,
dude.
I'm just
I can't wait to shave it all off because and shout outs to my dad. My dad was going bald by the time he was like 25, and he was full gray by the time he was 28. So I don't know what happened to me.
yeah, you got
Thanks
a
to my
nice
mom,
thick
I
head of
guess.
hair up there. Yeah, no doubt,
But
no doubt. You ain't got a sweet Phil head, that's for sure. But
I'm ready for it. I'm definitely not afraid of the bald head once it comes.
save money on shampoo. You don't have to go to the barber. Like, the savings are incredible. So highly recommend. Highly recommend.
You can take all that. You can pay the monthly subscription for WoW now.
Right, there you go. Totally could do that. So yeah, Lisa, you said D&D and live action role play, like the LARPing type stuff.
hmm
Okay, so when you do that kind of stuff, is that like you said for a weekend? Would you go? How far would you travel to do some? Is that I don't really know anything about it. I'm asking from
Yeah.
complete naivety. Do you travel out of state to do that, or is it just like, hey, we're gonna go, someone's property?
So two things. So for the D&D, I mean, I would travel out of state. I'm typically driving like 2 to 3 hours. I have some buddies who live out in Western Massachusetts. That's where I'm from. They have like this beautiful farm out there. So we'll drive out on a Friday. We'll play all throughout Saturday and a little bit of Sunday, and then we'll drive back home. So that's kind of like a weekend getaway type thing. LARPing, there's a lot of different ways of doing it. The LARPs that I go to are full weekend events. So you show up on Friday, you register your character, you have like a character that you play. There's a team of people who write a story and, run scripted events for you. And you're that character the whole weekend. So like until the game is off on Sunday afternoon, I'm Kel Rainier, the high mystic elf from Crossroads. So you're kind of in character the whole time. You're in costume the whole time, and people travel across. At least here in the states, it's much different over in Europe. But here in the states, people will travel across the country to go to a weekend event because you're there from Friday to Sunday. It's kind of worth the travel. Me personally, it just so happens that where I go to play D&D is the same city that I LARP in. So again, it's like a 2 or 3 hour drive for me.
Oh, gotcha. That works out. All right. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. It's one of those things. It's if you're not in the community, yeah, you wouldn't really know a whole lot about it or
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
We're a secret little cult out there, and we know it. But it's so for people who don't know, it's like you rent out a whole summer camp because it turns out in the middle of the summer, it's way too hot to have kids in a summer camp.
hmm.
Or I'm sorry, scratch that, reverse that. Kids are in the summer camp in the summer. We go in the spring and the fall when there's nobody at the camp. So they still need to make money. So they rent it out to people. So we'll bring like 100 people out to a summer camp in early spring and late fall and then have it for the whole weekend. So we're just like miles off into the woods. Nobody else is there. Every once in a while, somebody comes walking through with a dog, and you're just like dressed as a goblin, and they're like, "Oh, this is interesting." And I'm like, "Oh, you're trespassing. You do have to leave." But yeah,
Nice.
it's always fun when the muggles come walking through.
The Muggles, is that what you refer to, like the normal people, or what
It's a term from Harry Potter. It's how you refer to people who aren't wizards. So since we're
Ah,
nerds,
it's
muggles is one of the
it
words that we
sounded
use.
familiar, but I've only seen a couple of the Harry Potters kind of on accident. So that was when I was more of the Lord of the Rings instead of Harry Potter.
Oh,
There's
sure,
like
yeah.
there's like 9 of them, right? And there are like 8 or 9 of the Harry Potters.
Yeah, it's because they ended up, like, cutting a bunch of movies into multiple parts because they need to drain money out of us
Right.
aggressively, but yes.
Yeah, it's almost one of them ones. It's there's so many of them. It's too late to catch up. It'd be like I'm gonna catch up on all the whole Marvel series, and you're like, okay, bro, like that's not happening now.
Yeah, sure, okay, I guess you don't have a job or anything. Yeah. I did that on a plane ride one time. We went to Thailand, and it's a 16-hour flight, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, "Oh, what do I do for 16 hours?" Because I can't sleep on planes,
Hmm.
which is not great when you're on it for almost a full day, and they had all the Marvel movies on it, and I'm like, "Well, I guess I'm watching all of these because 'cause I'm trapped in a bird in the sky."
That's one way to knock them all out, huh? You probably had already seen it before, though. I'm guessing, right?
Yeah, I can't stress this enough. Nerd all the way down, homie. Every waking hour is spent
Everything,
consuming some type of
anything
nerd.
remotely under that umbrella, that's been there, done that. Gotcha, gotcha. So I'm gonna ask you a question that I get asked all the time on stream. I don't know if you get asked all the time on stream either, but everyone always asks me about my musical preferences. I guess part of it is because when I'm streaming, I'm listening to like rock slash metal type stuff, which is I guess a little out of the ordinary. But I like to throw in the music on my stream. I managed to find this guy on YouTube that makes Creative Commons free stuff, copyright free that I can use on stream. So, and it's actually like more of my personality, like music that I like. So, what type of music do you like? You can go anywhere with that you want. If there's old stuff, new stuff, whatever genre.
Yeah, so, I'm one of those people who does say I listen to just about everything other than country, but if we actually look at what I, like, tend to listen to day to day, I listen to a lot of rap and hip hop. I'm a big rap and hip hop, head. I come out of the ghetto, so my mom was, listening to a lot of classic rap and hip hop as I was growing up.
Hmm.
That being said, though, my dad is a classic guitarist, from Berkeley, and he was in, like, a hair metal band when he was a kid, so I listen to a lot of power metal. I'm like a big fan of people like Sonata Arctica and Camelot, Nightwish, and Rhapsody of Fire, who are like
Hmm.
some Omnia. You get into like weird folk metal too. So a lot of stuff like that. And then I'm also a big, we go to a lot of raves. Like I'm a big dancer. So a lot of EDM, dubstep, happy hardcore, whatever kind of genres you throw in there. As long as it's fast and I can dance to it, I'll probably listen to it. But the band I've seen the most is a Finnish power metal band by the name of Sonata Arctica, which I don't like so much of their new stuff, but that's probably what I have on repeat a lot when I'm not listening to rap and hip hop. But I don't play any of that on stream. Everything I play on stream, kind of like you, is all copyright free, kind of like low key, kind of EDM, just kind of background noise, like some chill and lo-fi remixes of stuff and different Diablo Tristram theme remixes that I found on YouTube.
Gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, and if you could check this guy out too, but I shout out anyone who hears this. This guy's I'll have a link in the description. NNM Creations. I don't know him. I think he's. I don't know who he is. I don't know where he is, but yeah, this stuff is pretty legit. Like it sounds like real music. It's not like the beep, boop, 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 free stuff that you get. It's
Sure.
like legit. I'm pretty sure he does it on computer, but it sounds like legit rock music. It's pretty wild. So, uh, yeah, for me personally, I haven't heard of a lot of those bands, but yeah, that's the thing with music. There's so many different bands out there and different preferences. I've heard of a few of them, but that's not a lot of the stuff that I listen to. But I can appreciate some power metal. I'm sure if I heard it,
Oh yeah. Yeah, I can send you some hard stuff if that's what you're into.
well, I have a weird. I'm kind of the same way that you said. You listen to everything except for country. I used to hate country, but I actually do listen to country now. But a lot more. The music that I listen to all the time is most people would say is like emo, because
Okay.
it's actually a funny story. Well, everyone thinks it's hilarious, especially if I pull up the picture when I had my like, long hair. That
Oh, you
was.
had the swoosh?
Oh yeah, for sure. But this was
Oh,
like
the big swoosh. Let's
before
go.
before Bieber back. Yeah, this was like 2000. That's what
Oh yeah.
you mentioned. The band that you've probably seen the most times. I could say definitively the band I've seen the most time is this band called Silverstein. If you've
Okay.
heard of Silverstein, they were pretty mainstream, kind of, sorta. that type of stuff. But for more modern stuff, there's the two bands I listen to the most now are Motionless in White and Falling in Reverse, which are
Okay. Yeah.
two kind
No
of
falling in
big
reverse.
bands in that genre. But those are the ones I listen to all the time. But I have no problem at all popping on, old school like Johnny Cash or something, or Frank Sinatra, and any of the old Rat Pack stuff. And it really and that actually from video games. What got me into that kind of stuff, or even like old country, was Fallout. Playing Fallout all the
Oh yeah,
time
sure.
and hearing
Yeah.
those songs over and over, and I'm like, this is really growing on me. And then all of a sudden it's like I'm having parties and I'm popping on, just some old country, or whatever that, was on that radio station on Fallout.
Yeah, the music in Fallout is definitely a vibe. That for me, like, I kinda need to be playing Fallout to really, like, get back into the music, but that whole aesthetic, like, just that, like, old-timey just crooning while you're, gunning down some behemoths, and you're just like, "Oh, yeah, this works for me. This
Hmm.
absolutely works."
Yeah, I definitely started popping that on like when I used to work in a factory. That's probably why I got so used to just like grinding and grinding and grinding on working in a factory. I don't know if you ever worked in a factory before. Mind numbing, boring. You just get used to just like, how do you melt time away? That's what I'd pop on iHeartRadio, type in something that I had heard from Fallout, and then it would go to next and next and next. And I started liking a ton of the old songs, thumbs up. And I had whole like 8-hour playlists of these old songs eventually at one point while I'm pushing buttons on a machine, pulling parts off. So yeah, it's crazy how when you're younger you have opinions, and then you grow up and you kind of realize the big vast world of, and even if nowadays there's stuff you don't like, you can always look back and there's a whole catalog of music that'll be there forever that it could have been out for 70 years or 90 years, and you're like, wow, this is actually sounds really cool.
Oh yeah, for sure. There's a, you tie so much of your identity early on to like what music you listen to, and then that defines who you're around and what your friends do and all of that. I don't know. You hit a certain point and you're like, do I need to hate Fallout Boy, or can I go listen to their stuff and see if it's cool? Do I have to hate Avril Lavigne, or is some of this music actually good? Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I was with country. My dad was always like, hated country, hated country. So it was one of the things that I just naturally, and I'm from country town, Michigan, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, graduated with like 70 people in in my graduating class, type of small town, one stoplight. So there was country everywhere. That was weird back in the everyone country and rap. That was everybody listened to country and rap all the time. It's weird.
Oh yeah.
It seemed like a weird combo to me, but from the small town I was from, it was the go-to.
Yeah, they're two genres that are typically defining the struggles of, the quote unquote everyman in a way that you can relate to and kind of put yourself into it. That's a lot of what those two genres do. So I don't think it almost kind of makes sense that you would find both of those in the same area, especially if you're out in Michigan. Like that's one of the rap capitals in the United
Yeah, I
States.
suppose you're right. I guess when I listen to music, I don't really think about it too deeply, I guess. I just kind of
Sure.
listen to it more like and maybe you're right, that's what other people are reading into it too. And my simpleton brain just like, oh, this country, going down the road in a dirt truck. But yeah, but I'm kind of appreciate that it did grow. I mean, I like the older country, like, the 50s and stuff like that better than like a lot of the newer stuff. But even the some newer stuff, especially being like listening to like emo music, like it's like sad music, and then you got like sad country songs and stuff. It's a lot of it kind of the same
Yeah, it makes
lyrical
sense.
content almost. So yeah, do you have any sweet questions for Sweet Phil?
I did have a sweet question for Sweet Phil. So, what is, because we talked a little bit about what you played. What's the game that got you into Blizzard games? Like, what's the first one that you played where you're like, oh, now I need to check out everything else they make?
The first Blizzard game, I mean, to be perfectly honest, the first one that I'm aware of is Diablo 2, to be honest, because it would have came out in like 2000, and kind of a funny story how I started to play it. Well, before that, I never really bought a whole lot of games, and if I did, they were always, you know, NFL 95, NHL 97, stuff like that, or just the generic Sega Genesis games, Mortal Kombat and stuff like that. Or we always had a computer in my house, like my dad was into computers and stuff, so we had the big floppy disks. I don't even remember what they are, 8 by, I don't know, popping in playing Oregon Trail or whatever, Hexen or whatever these games are, that we just had. But Blizzard was probably the first one, and I don't really venture out to too many different games like the Call of Duty and Halos that I mentioned, and Fallout and the Elder Scrolls. Um, those series are pretty much, I mean, I did play the Final Fantasies, but I really only liked for Final Fantasy 7, 8, and 9, the ones for PS1. Then I feel like, in my opinion, they drifted off, but everyone liked those more. But anyways, um, I don't really venture. I find something I like, and then I kind of stick with it, I guess, is kind of how I've always been with it. And for other Blizzard games, like I played the Warcraft. They were okay. I only just dabbled the single player stuff. I never got onto the competitive. World of Warcraft I didn't touch. Diablo 1 I played for like a day or two, and it just came with the battle chest. I decided to try it out.
Yeah,
Didn't really like it. Bought Diablo 3. I mean, we all know how that went. I didn't start a Diablo 3 channel, so.
I
Yeah.
like for what it's worth, I like Diablo 3. I bought that game when it first came out. I played it for like 2 months. I hated the campaign, and that was before they really added anything to it.
Yeah, it's the
And I was like,
same
all
here.
right, I guess I'm done with this game for now. I went back and I played it recently. Like I think I did the season start for season 26. We're on to season 27 now. And I had a lot of fun with it. Now that like there's a big meta to the game and they've added in all of this, like do this stuff, you'll get a basic set of gear, and then that gear will let you start farming. I actually really like that about the game. I tried to
Hmm.
talk with chat like, how would you like it if you got like a basic set of gear at the end of, call it, nightmare difficulty or something? Like what if you got, they handed you these rune words and like these basic rares? Everybody almost chopped my head off because I had the audacity to, say what if we did anything Diablo 3 and D2. But I like the game. It's not my favorite game. Obviously, I'm also not a D3 channel, but I think they've done a good job bringing it up. But
Gotcha.
that's kind of interesting to me because like I started, the first game I actually remember playing was the first Warcraft on PlayStation. I want to say, I think the original PlayStation, and then I ended up playing, StarCraft and Warcraft 2, and then I've kind of just stuck along with it the whole time. But the only game I've really played more than D2 was World of Warcraft. I have There was kind of a thing in World of Warcraft, you would kind of just like get a cool mount and then sit in a major city like Orgrimmar or Stormwind. You just kind of like sit there on your cool mount. I never really did that. I was always too busy playing. And I have over 1 full year, an entire year's worth of hours logged into a single character in World of Warcraft, which is
What?
disgusting. You need to remember, I hit that point at the age of 23. So at the age of 23, I had spent 1 full year of my life just playing a character in World of Warcraft. Uh,
Wow. Yeah, that's
I'm not
pretty.
Back then I was really proud of it. Now I don't know what I did
Yeah,
for
so
that
so
much
at
of
my
my life.
non-expert math, you had spent 4% of your entire lifetime on that character.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah. It's a
crazy.
wild number.
Yeah,
It's a wild
I remember
number.
looking at characters and being like, whoa, I got 150 hours on this character, or something like that, on like Oblivion or something, or
Yeah.
Morrowind or something. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm only really upset about it. Shout outs to Blizzard if I can have that year back. No, I was playing with friends. It was like a big social thing for us. We would have parties. So we'd be in Rhode Island. My buddy went to college in Rhode Island. We'd be in Rhode Island, drinking, having a party, and also raiding in World of Warcraft because half of the people who were there were our guild members. So like everybody would bring their laptops. We'd eat all of the local internet. There was none left for anybody else. Then we'd finish the raid and we'd go back to the party. So it wasn't just like full like neckbeard in my mom's basement type stuff, but it was pretty close.
Gotcha. I can get the social aspect of it a little bit different, but kind of the same. Like I could imagine if somebody back when we used to have Halo parties, when Halo 1 and Halo 2, and they'd be like, we're going up north and we're bringing 5 cases of Bush Light and we're playing Call of Duty, you know. I would have been like, what? Yeah, like I'm on board. Like, let's
Best of both
go.
worlds. Yeah.
But yeah. So one question that I had, and it kind of goes off of what one thing that Chad always asks me. I always get asked, where did I get this Sweet Phil name from? So I'm gonna throw it to you first. I'll tell my story eventually. I got my secrets. I'll tell my story. How about where did your name come from? Because I assume that BioBoi isn't your last name.
Yep. Yeah. It's not my last name.
Okay.
It was a rap name. I and that sounds ridiculous. It was a rap name. For people who don't know, my name is Marco. So obviously, macro is an anagram for Marco. Also, macro is just kind of a generic gaming term. You have a macro keyboard, you make macros, et cetera, et cetera. I get asked all the time if it's a StarCraft name because you macro your groups of monsters and you send commands via macros, but no, it's not. Um, I have a degree in microbiology. I went to UMass Amherst for microbio. I've done nothing with it, but basically it just means I now know how disgusting the human body is,
Mm,
and it helped me get over a lot of my germophobia and stuff like that. So I had a degree in microbiology, and when I was working like 6 years ago, I started writing raps like on my breaks. So I would like write a couple bars and listen to some music and write a couple bars. And a buddy of mine is like, well, if you're going to be doing that, you need a cool rap name. So I kind of thought like microbio is like microscopic life. Macrobio is like big scale life. So it's like bigger than life. And it turns out that macrobio was taken on Twitch already. Uh, Weird. I don't know who else is using that. Shout outs to whoever macrobio is. But boy, BOI, it's bio rewritten, right? But it's just like a gender neutral term for a guy. So it's just macro bio boy, kind of rolls off the tongue, MBB, and kind of looks nice. That being said, no one can pronounce it because it looks like it's just macro bio. When everybody reads it for the first time, they say macro bio. So I shot myself in the foot there a little bit, but yeah, it was a rap name, and macrobio was already taken, so I threw on the boy.
okay. Yeah, I think it kind of works. I guess if they just looked at it real quick, especially like if you were in my chat and I didn't know you, and I look over, I'm like playing, I look over like this, like, oh, macrobio, and I don't like see the whole thing,
Yeah.
but I think I don't know, I do think it flows pretty good, and it sounds pretty sick. I'm gonna be honest.
Hey,
Pretty
thanks, man. I
sick.
appreciate that.
So, and now I knew you were gonna ask. I'll tell you the story about where this came from. I'm pointing at the Sweet Phil if you can't see. I get asked it all the time on stream. So whoever is here 42 minutes into the podcast, you're going to hear the story. So I mentioned earlier how I used to like skateboard, and I don't know where necessarily I got it from, but I know it was from somewhere in the skateboarding, maybe people I was hanging out with, but I started saying sweet all the time. Like, oh man, that's sweet. Like, oh yeah, nice catch, like that was sweet. And I just say everything was sweet. When I was like a freshman or sophomore in high school, some of the older kids would be like, I guess you say picking on me. They're just joking around. It wasn't like harassing or anything, but like joking around, like, oh yeah, you're so sweet. Yeah, that's sweet. Because I would just say it all the time. So they'd be like, Phil, you know what? Yeah, Phil, you're so sweet, Phil. You're sweet, Phil. You're sweet. And they kept calling me it all year. Then the next year they would call me it, and then the younger kids, the next grade coming up, would hear them call me that, and then they would call me it, trying to fit in, not knowing that they originally said it as like not an insult, but kind of as an insult, like they're joking around with me.
Kids being kids. Yeah.
And then I just went with it. I just went with it. You could have worse nicknames, right? Like it's not really that bad. So and then everybody just always called me that forever, to where like if my friends were around, my dad would call me Sweet Phil. Like everyone's parents, everyone, and also I lived in a small town. There ended up being another guy with literally the exact same name as me, in a small town.
What?
Yeah, it turns out he was like my second cousin on some like side of a divorce or something. I don't really know. It's a crazy small town sounding thing. I get it. But so yeah, and he actually was friends with my one of my really good friends' parents. So we'd be at the same parties and stuff, and or at the same place. So that he was him, and I was Sweet Phil, and it just kind of stuck like that forever. When I decided to make my channel, I didn't want to like put my full name in or whatever. I don't know
Yeah.
about being on the internet or whatever. So I was like, hey, we'll go with Sweet Phil. Works out perfect, right?
Yeah, I like that. That's good. It's got a good ring to it. I like your logo too, because it also kind of looks like single player to me, which I think is the best way to play Diablo. Whenever I see your little logo, I'm like, ah, that's single player right there.
Single player the best way. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It does kind of confuse me though. I obviously didn't think about this or realize it does get confusing when people in chat or something they'll just put SP short for Sweet Phil. Other people will put SP short for single player.
Oh
I
yeah.
can barely handle it. Oop, punch the mic.
Yeah, no, I feel you there. Managing, learning how to look, even just like be able to look at chat while you're doing anything, is a very weird skill I never thought I was going to develop. Walking into my 30s, but yeah, not a lot of people know this, but being able to even look at chat and read it at all is like a godsend gift. So if you're watching somebody, if you're in their channel and like they even manage to look over and read it, I want you to know they're using like 200% of their brain right there. So cut them some slack.
Yeah, I get called out all the time. I mean, partially rightfully so. It's fine because I make all these mistakes. But yeah, I'm reading chat. I feel sometimes like this is what they see when I'm playing. Like
Yeah.
like that's how they see me playing the game. But I'll miss small charms all the time, or because I feel like from streaming for enough years here, my eyes have become trained only to see like the orange of runes and the like brownish gold of the uniques. Like the blue stuff, I almost like I have to like to try to see them because I feel like it just your brain comes so conditioned to looking for the runes and stuff that you don't even. It's so hard to keep track of that stuff, especially
Oh yeah.
reading the chat while you're doing it. And that's I did notice I was getting so much better. I was never a big reader. Um, but I got a 5-year-old daughter, so this is kind of how I noticed I'm getting pretty good at reading. I'm gonna be honest. I'm
All
not
right.
toot my own horn or anything, but I'm 35 and I can read now. So I'm reading her books, and I just started streaming a couple years ago. So the first few years I can remember reading, and now it's just like blah, 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 blah. I can read it off so much faster, and it's like, man, I should have been reading my whole life, maybe, huh? If I wouldn't be so.
Yeah, no, dude, books are where it's at. That was before like well, I mean, I kind of always had video games. You said that your dad was into computers. My dad was too. So he got into IT back during like when Microsoft would give you a certificate and you could go start working for a company. Like right during the bubble. So I built my first computer when I was like 8 years old, maybe even a little bit younger. We're still using MS DOS and having to put in DOS commands to boot stuff from a floppy drive, and like you were saying, like playing like Oregon Trail, right? So um, just the I've kind of always had video games, but right alongside that was I was always like a big book reader. I just like escaping. I think that's what it comes down to. I look at the world and I'm like, that's cold and gray because I live in Massachusetts. What if I was reading this dope book where actual stuff was happening? That'd be sick. But but yeah, I mean, good on you. Like when you develop a skill, it doesn't matter when you do it. Just that, like, if you do it, now you have it. So like, big ups to increasing your literary capabilities. That's
Yeah,
something to be celebrated.
yeah. One of those things I didn't realize I so I'm lacking. I probably read it like a sixth grade level. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, it's just one of those things. Is you obviously streaming, you gotta read a whole paragraph quick, or you're not watching your screen, or you're just not catching any of
Yep.
your chatters. And I try to really get as many comments as I can. It's a good problem, but it's getting more difficult nowadays. But yeah, when there's 200 or 300 people and you're trying to read, geez, whoa, you know what I'm talking about, yeah.
It's impossible. It's impossible. And just another quick behind the scenes. I want you to know. Well, I mean, this is this is true like 99% of the time. We're not trying to ignore you. It's just there's too many people saying stuff. and I'm trying to play a game at, max FCR breakpoints, and I'm trying to pick up this stuff and not miss anything, because if I miss an item, then more stuff's going to be in chat, and now I've definitely missed you. So I want you to know we're not ignoring you on purpose, unless you're saying something stupid. At which point, well, maybe I am, but who knows?
Right.
I'll wait for you to highlight your message or something, or at me in chat, and then maybe I'll see it. But yeah, it gets rough. It definitely gets rough for sure.
Yeah. Speaking of bad comments, I love this YouTube feature that just reminded me of, so I decided to bring it up. Hide user from channel.
Oh,
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 love it.
mwah,
Man,
mwah.
so great.
It is like the most spiteful and just delicious thing that you can do. I'm gonna sound like a psycho for a second, but it turns
Feed me,
out
feed me. I want to hear.
it turns out there are some bad people on the internet.
What?
And they think that you owe them something. They think that, like, you owe them their life because they've blessed you with watching your videos. Uh, on YouTube, you can't actually block someone from being able to see your stuff, but you can hide them from the channel. And they don't know it, but they're shadow banned. So they're going to be engaging, they're going to be clicking and typing, and this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm the only one who's ever played a whirlwind barbarian or whatever.
Hate watching your
And
videos.
and yeah, watching the video, you can dislike my video too. I don't care. That's engagement, baby. YouTube's like, oh, people clicking it. Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Hiding from channel is so good. It's
Yeah.
so good.
And a little tip to viewers: if you ever tell me if you tell me I'm like word for word, like you're stupid, that's probably gonna hide you from channel. If you tell me that I should probably just kill myself, that you're gonna get hid from the channel, I'm just letting you know. Anything like that, like you have 425 magic find, that's dumb. You don't need it. You don't know what you're talking about. Why do you even make videos? You're gonna get hidden.
Hide from channel.
You're gonna get hidden from the channel. Yeah. It seems obvious to me, like that. Maybe you should just not waste your time typing that stuff into the comment section. Just watch somebody else's videos. There's 50, 100 of us out there.
Yeah, there's so many. It's wild. So I'm like a fairly sensitive person. I think that's what lets me kind of connect with people and be as personable as I am. Not to pat myself on the back, but I'm pretty sensitive. Like I care a lot about what I make. I care a lot about the time and energy that I put into stuff. So when people come through with just disrespectful, like just hateful stuff, just wildly hateful, like there's no reason for them to be talking to you or commenting on your video. They clearly think absolutely nothing of you. That gets to me. That gets to me. And my first reaction is like, oh, I gotta prove this person wrong. I gotta win them over. I gotta explain. And I went, or I shadow ban them, and then they don't exist anymore, and then I can go back to my life. It seems like a win-win because they clearly hate me. So
Yeah.
we don't need to work on this. This isn't, we don't need to go to couples counseling about it.
Yeah, I feel you on that, because I used to do the same thing. I'm a big, or I used to be anyways, where I would type out telling them how they're wrong. No, I shouldn't. Delete.
Yep.
Whatever. Delete. I don't know. It's hard to say if I'm like sensitive or not, or whatever. But I had to take like a break for like a month of just like, I'm not looking at any of the comments on any of my videos. Like if I do something stupid, like the audio's muted, and I didn't know, like somehow I didn't notice this one section was muted or something like that. Sometimes someone will say something in the comments, I'll take it down and re-upload it real quick. But I was like, I don't even care. Like I'm not looking at the comments, because I think it's part of human nature. Like people are just kind of pre-programmed to like, oh yeah, everything's fine, everything's good. Oh, there's the bad thing. Like I see it.
Yeah.
Like to concentrate on the bad thing. So even though the first like 75 comments are like channel members like, oh bro, you rock, like, oh I love this build, or blah blah blah, and then it's like, then you get like 2 or 3 out of like 10 that are the negative ones, and I can't overcome the human nature sometimes, to concentrate on the negative, because you always, I don't know if this is 100% factual, but I like that you concentrate on the negative, so because you want to see the problems that you need to fix. Like if there's not a problem you need to fix, your brain doesn't want to concentrate on it as much, I think. Anyways, I don't know if that's a hypothesis or if that's some real thing, but that's the way it seems.
Yeah, 100%. and it's you know, as kids would say nowadays, ignoring the comment section is self-care. It's the only thing I never want to miss out if somebody's asking a legitimate question. You know, if somebody's going to take the time to type out like, "Hey, I really like this video," or whatever, I want them to know I've seen that and I appreciate that, right? That's a human choosing to invest even a few seconds of their, you know, mortal lifespan to, you know, saying something nice to you. So I want to make sure they get that recognition that they deserve. Or somebody's asking a question, I want to try to get that information to them. You know, part of why I do this is I like to teach. I'm a teacher at heart. That's why I go look at things so deeply. It's so that I can give correct answers to people. And oh boy, you hit that one. You know, you kind of said it earlier, like, oh, you should kill yourself. People say that to you. They
Yeah.
just say like, "You should end your life," and I'm like,
Yeah, I didn't
"Homie,
make that up. Yeah. That's more
homie,
than
you
one
don't,"
time.
because you can check whether or not like people have commented on your other videos or how long they like. You can go look at a person's profile, and I'm like, "This is the first thing you've ever said to me." Like you clearly are not somebody like you walked up, you went, "Huh, interesting video. Kill yourself." That gets rough. So I definitely understand taking a month off and just being like, all right, let me reevaluate how I'm approaching content creation. Cause, you know, there aren't a lot of jobs in the world where you walk in one day and somebody you don't know just looks at you and goes, "You should kill yourself." And you're like, "Great. This is a Wendy's. Would you like fries with that?" You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
It's definitely it's its own beast.
Yeah, the
This
anonymity of
sphere.
the internet
Yes.
makes a lot of tough guys, yeah, for sure. So I think I might know the answer to this question already, but I'll go ahead and ask. I've mentioned a few times how when I was younger, I played like sports and stuff. Did you ever play any sports, or did you kind of just stick more to? You said you're the ultimate nerdy stuff kind of guy.
Yeah.
So is that more what
Yeah.
you stuck to? Never really hit the sports or anything like that.
All right. So you can't see it in
Parkour
the
though,
camera.
parkour kind of counts. That's
Parkour, yeah.
athletic.
Parkour is like one part sport, one part kind of like a martial art, and another part's just kind of like a I hate to get too spiritual about, but it's kind of like a way of life. It's like an approach to the universe. Like I'm not gonna let barriers stop me. I'm literally gonna climb over them. But that's a whole other conversation. Um, where I came up, like where I grew up, it was very very cool to play basketball. Now you can't see it. I am 5'8". I'm a short individual.
Okay,
I'm
yeah,
below the national average.
more like a
And
point guard
oddly enough,
size.
yeah, probably you shouldn't, you know, not really a center. And when I was a kid, I was not taller. I was shorter, oddly enough. But that also meant that if I wanted to actually play basketball and be able to play with these other kids, I had to be really good at it. So I played basketball like in elementary school. We just played it a lot in general. That's kind of like the only sport I really did. I tried to get into track and field in high school, and I don't remember what happened. I like showed up to the meeting, and then I guess I missed the next meeting, and then the sports team was created. So I didn't get to do track and field. But no, just like mostly basketball, if anything. I'm mean in a game of Foursquare though.
Oh,
You put me in a Foursquare little box, and I'm nasty with it. But other than that, no, I was too busy being a nerd
now
to really play sports.
now is Foursquare, is that with it's got the big opening you put the
Four
ball in top and the ball comes out four different ways? Is that
Ooh,
Foursquare?
no. I actually have no idea what that thing is called, but I know what you're talking about. Foursquare is like there's literally a square on the ground that's broken up into four parts, and you have a dodgeball typically, and it's like you have to hit it into a person's square and then hit it out of the play area, and that person will have to leave the game, and then you rotate other people in. But there's like wild rules. There was uh like bobbling, which was you could like keep tossing it up in the air back in between your hands because you're only supposed to hit it one time. It's kind of like really aggressive four person dodgeball tennis. That's the only way I can really describe Foursquare. It's
Hmm.
wild. If you ever seen a little box on the ground with numbers in it, that was Foursquare. And like I played it for like a year when I was 8 years old, and I've only played it one other time since then.
All right, I feel like I have seen the boxes, but yeah, I feel like I never played that one. I was always the kid playing football every day, I guess you could say. Yeah, I'm a little bit. I got a couple inches taller on you, so I was football, basketball, baseball type of stuff. I'm like 6'3", 225. So it's more
Yeah, you
of
got yeah, a couple inches, I'd say.
yeah,
Give or take a whole person's
just a
worth
little
of
bit.
height on me. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not BT or anything, but
It's
I'm not
huge.
6'5" or 6 or whatever.
It is wildly tall. It is bananas. Because for people, yeah, BT Neanderthal, people don't know. Kid's like he's like 25, and he towers over me. He's like 6'5", 6'6". It's
Is
nuts.
he just
Kid's
25 right now? I remember I did
25 or 20.
a Phil cast with him before, and I remember he was way younger than I. Not that he looks old, but I just kind of assume, you know, that everyone who plays Diablo 2 is like in their 30s.
Yeah, well, so he played with his dad. So, he was playing this game when he was like 6 years old, I think, something like that.
Oh, okay.
And he's just been playing since then, which is awesome because, people will comment on stuff like, "Oh, this kid doesn't know what he's." I'm like, "The guy's actually been playing this game since he could read." So he probably knows a thing or two. Shout outs to
He was
BT.
born into it.
Yeah, he born into it, molded by it. Yeah,
Wow,
shout outs
that's
to
you
BT.
do that pretty darn good. Not the first time you've done that, I'm guessing.
No, yeah, no. I have like 3 impersonations I can do, and one of them is like an okay Bane, and I'm pretty proud of it.
Yeah, that was pretty reasonable. Pretty reasonable. But yeah, that was yeah, because you said he was 6 years old, huh? That's pretty wild, yeah. Because I was like 14 when I started playing. To think of the 6-year-old, my daughter's 5, she's gonna be 6.
Yeah.
I guess it's a different time, and being a father, I feel like you might baby a girl more than you would baby a boy. You know what I'm saying? Like I actually let her used to run around in Diablo 2, but she would like walk over like a year or two ago. She would walk over and to be like, "Oh hi, I'm gonna buy some candy," like but next to a person. But then now I feel like I would want her to play it even less because now she could actually be like, "Oh, die, die, die," you know. And I'm like, "No, you can't go to school talking like that."
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and then I killed Indariel and she burned all the demons. And they're like, we need to talk to your parents. This is
Right? Yeah, yeah.
something's happening.
Why is
Yeah,
she
I
talking
think I
about all
was
this
actually
demonic stuff at school? I don't really.
I was in your live stream. I think you were telling chat about like you had like recently let your daughter play and she was like trying to role play and then she would walk up to stuff, but she wouldn't know to fight it. It was a good story. It was a good story.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's what Chattel, they kind of joke with me too, because there's so many times, because I do this full time now. This is all what I do to pay the bills, streaming and making videos. And so I'll be here. I'm at my computer, shocker, surprise for everybody. And I got a laptop over here that she can be on, and I got some other stuff set up for her to do around me while I'm trying to work. And yeah, like I'll be streaming or something and I'll say a swear word and they'll be like, "Oh, your daughter must not be home," because
Yep.
like the number of times I've caught myself, something happens. One time I almost swore on stream earlier or recently. I dropped my 3rd Mavinus diadem on single player in a week.
Yep.
So that's not a good one.
Was that Spider Cavern or Arachnid Lair?
I actually dropped another one in the Stony Tomb.
Stony Tomb.
Yeah, I did. I got one. I don't remember where was the first one at, but yeah, I did in the Arachnid's Lair. I must have got 2 in the Arachnid's Lair, and then I just got one in the Stony Tombs here, and I'm looking for that single player Griffins, one of
You
those
just need more
elusive
magic
ones.
find.
Yeah, more magic
That's it.
find.
You just need more magic find. Just keep stacking it, baby.
That's what I try. Gotta pull off that. I don't know. Pull off those FCR gloves. Get some chances on there. I was using that. I think. Oh yeah, you were in chat that one time. Crazy enough that when I was gambling those amulets and I got that 3 to cold 29 magic find.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah, that was a sick amulet.
I was using that. I mean, you got something like that. I was like, maybe I could get the FCR here, and then it would work out better to do something else. But when you get something that's like yeah, I just thought it was sick. I thought it was really sweet, so I decided to use it. See what I did there?
Nice branding. Nice branding. I like that. I like that.
Right. What I'm talking about. So there was one thing I was gonna talk about too. You mentioned about going to raves. That's not necessarily something that's directly up my alley, but I did go to a rave before, and it was crazy, and I thought it was pretty awesome. I don't know what type of rave, and you don't have to like go into any detail, I guess, but a lot of the people are doing all sorts of different type of
Oh yeah,
consumables and
it's
smokables. I
they
don't, I
do it.
don't
They
I
do
didn't
a lot
dabble.
of things there.
Yeah, I don't dabble into that stuff. This is the drug of choice, not necessarily sweet baby Jesus, but whatever type of alcohol or whatever. But it was a really good time, and a lot of nice people, and it was I don't know, it was not what I expected, I guess, where it was, because this was like downtown Detroit. This guy that the girl I was dating at the time knew, every year he rented out an abandoned warehouse in
Hmm.
downtown Detroit and would have a rave in there. And we show up at like 11 o'clock and there's nobody there. 11:30, nobody's there. Midnight, we're like, we're gonna leave, there's nobody here, and we start walking out. It's like 12:15, and then a couple people show up. 12:15, like night slash in the morning, whatever you want to call it. This sounds like a familiar story to you. And then they're like, oh yeah, no, people, it's here, it's coming. And then in the next half hour, like by 12:45, the plate, there was 200 people there.
Yeah,
Come to
yeah.
find out that it didn't start until after midnight, which was I don't know, culture shock, I guess you call it. Just pretty
Hmm.
pretty crazy to me. But yeah, it was a good time. Superhero. It was a superhero rave, so I was dressed up as Quail Man,
Oh,
and
very good,
yeah, yeah,
very
that
good.
was a sick costume idea. Just easy enough, but just like obscure enough that it's still kind of cool. But yeah, I was surprised at how much fun I had at, not necessarily being into that kind of music, but it was just fun to go to.
Yeah, raves are sick. So just before I was nodding my head when you were saying a lot of stuff. So just to clear my own name, we do. I run with a crew. They're a fantastic crew. It's called Tight Crew. I run with these people called Rabbit Revolution, and they are a lot of people who are part of it are quote unquote sober ravers. So like they'll drink, and they might smoke some interesting cigarettes, but not really taking any of the other stuff that you would typically see at a rave. They're
Nothing potentially
it,
dangerous of any kind,
nothing
and
dangerous. I'm not personally interested in being like stuck down in Rhode Island, multiple hours away from my home, and so messed up that I can't get back, and then just abandoned at a rave. That's not my personal cup of tea.
right.
So I mean, like, and we'll drink and stuff, but raves are really really cool. There's definitely a bunch of drug use. There's definitely a bunch of sketchy people. There's you can't really get away from that if you're in a if you're at a nightclub, you're gonna get those same people.
Yeah, yeah.
But the rave culture is so cool. Everybody who's there is typically like an outcast or a misfit, or these are like the only friends that they have, and they come out to like be, no judgment, kind of be themselves, vibe out to awesome music, be in whatever headspace they want to be in, and you know, cover themselves in colorful glitter stuff and look at pretty lights and vibe to some awesome EDM. It's definitely one of my more favorite things that we do. The music's great, the dance floors are awesome. There's always people there doing really cool flow art. So if you ever saw somebody with like a light up hula hoop or like one of those levy wands, so it looks like there's like a flying wand, but it's actually attached to a string. People do like some of the most awesome acrobatics and dance arts there as well. I love raves, and we've brought a ton of friends who that's definitely not their scene, and they don't really know what to expect, but since they're with us, they know they're going to be safe. They know, they're going to have people there with them. They're not going to get abandoned in a warehouse, because it is a lot of them are in abandoned warehouses that they just like bring 10 DJs into and just set up stages everywhere. But I love raving. I really like the community. And I mean, I've had to buy some people some water when I found them just on the ground with nobody around them. Like there are definitely times where like paramedics have to get called and all that, but the people at raves are also the ones who kind of know how to look out for, when somebody isn't having a great time. So I'm not saying, it's great that they're that messed up that like they're in a public space, but the people around them know what to look out for. So when it starts turning bad, you know, nobody wants to see somebody die. So, they're on the phones with paramedics immediately. So
Right.
like
I feel
kind of this
like
weird safe space.
I feel like with people that do that too, like you said, the sober ravers and stuff like that, like you don't have to do that kind of stuff. And the people that do indulge in the harder, more dangerous stuff, I feel like they would. I mean, I don't want to like put words or thoughts in other people's heads, but I feel like they would probably be doing stuff like that anyways, just somewhere else. And like the rave maybe gets more of a
Probably.
bad name just because that's
Yeah.
the thing that they might get into or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it's dubstep and psychedelic, streamers and, crazy colors. It's they kind of feed off one another. It's kind of built so that you can enjoy it if you are indulging, but the people who run it are just as liable for your safety as if they weren't doing it. So like again, it's this place where people try to go out of their way to make sure that it's safe. The same thing happens, if you go to like a heavy metal concert, a pit will open up. The whole point of the pit is basically to go fist fight people. But if somebody drops in the pit, the first thing that you do is you pick them up. That's pit
Yeah, yeah,
101. If somebody drops, you help pick them up. Somebody drops their glasses, you stop and you help get them. So it's that same kind of thing. Like I'm here to fist fight, but I'm here to do it and be cool about it. It's
yeah.
it's
You took
the
that
same
thought
thing.
like right out of my head. That was like the next thing I had queued up for yeah, because that's would be uh it's one of the things I used to like to do. I don't do it anymore, going in the pit and getting rough and tumble or whatever. Now that I'm an old man, geez, man, the number of days you're sore after stuff like that.
Yeah.
Even being a bigger guy, just there's guys bigger than me, and you can get hit real hard, and hopefully you don't catch an elbow and you bleeding from
Yeah,
the mouth and stuff like that.
I have
And
an unfortunate story about that.
I mean,
Uh
I'm pretty sure everyone's got. I got some from when I was younger, not so much recently because I steered clear. But yeah, go ahead with that. Yeah, love to
Yeah,
hear it.
I went to a place where there shouldn't be a pit at a concert. I went and saw an artist called Tech Nine. Tech Nine is like a horrorcore rap artist. He's awesome. The people who go to his shows are the same kind of people who like to open up pits, and he actually has a couple songs that's like about moshing. And I'm in
Hmm.
a place; these people are all new to moshing. They clearly aren't metalheads. So this dude goes down, and this was maybe like 3 or 4 years ago. First time ever this ever happened to me. Guy goes down, so I go down to pick him up, and rather than let himself get picked up by people, he put his legs underneath him and he jumped straight up in the air. And I'm over him trying to pick him. He jumped his skull into my nose, shattered my nose. This is the first time I had ever broken my nose in my whole life. I went outside, got patched up. I went back in. I finished it. I'm bleeding out of all of my face. I went back in and I finished the show because I paid my money, damn it. But yeah, I had to go get reconstructive surgery and go get stitches and all that 9 yards.
Wow.
So that wasn't great at I think it was like 29. I think it was like 3 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago. But yeah, if you're in a pit and you go down, let people pick you up so that you don't smash your skull into their face.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's way rougher than anything that's ever. The worst that happened to me is I got kneed in the head one time, but I didn't even get cut or nothing. So, but I got one of those. I don't even know what happened. This was actually one of the first concerts I ever went to, and I got kneed in the head. It was didn't feel good, but I was probably 17. Yeah, no, I was 15. I couldn't drive yet. Went to Warp Tour, and we were, oh, we're jumping in the pit. Look at us, we're 15-year-olds. Ah. And then I stepped over to the side, like, man, I'm tired, and I feel like some like 20 or 25-year-old guy was like, hey, watch this, and just I was just standing there like, boom, and I got drilled in the back. Like I wasn't in the pit, but I was standing on the edge, and he must have ran like 3 steps and just drilled me in the back. I bounced across the ground, kicked in the head, scurried back up somehow, and yeah, that was the worst time that ever happened. But
Yeah, that's the
obviously,
pit. That's the pit for you.
being 15, I was a little bit smaller at the time too. Like when I was probably like 150 at the time. I got put on quite a bit of weight since then, especially since high school.
It's important. You need that weight to be a dad. It's really important.
Oh, right, yeah,
They don't teach you about that, but you need that dad bod.
it's required. It's required. I'm fighting it off a little bit. I do. That's one of the things why, if anyone asks, like, I kind of feel sheepish when people ask me, like, do you do this full time? Is this like what you do? Because it's almost like I do it like 70. I say I do like 70% content creators, like what I, because my daughter's not in school now, but like I take her to school in the morning. I pick her up from school. I go to the gym. Not every day, but probably like every other. I try to go every day, but sometimes it just doesn't fit in, or I decide to cut it out that day so I can work on other things. So that's there's so many other things, but yeah, I do try to get to the gym every day. Like if I didn't, I don't know, I'd be like this. My stomach would be laying on the keyboard right now, probably, huh?
I mean, that's impressive though, and shout outs to doing the also stay at home dad thing while you're working. Big ups for that. But yeah, it's rough. Like I do like a mile walk. So I've a day job. I've like I work for like 2 hours in the morning. I deliver food for people with disabilities and the elderly in my area, and that basically pays for my bills. And then I come home, I make a lunch, I do like an hour walk. I have a 20-pound weight vest I put on, and I walk to Dunkin' Donuts and I get a green iced tea. And sometimes I get a donut if I want it, and sometimes I don't. And then I walk my little butt back and I get ready and then I stream. So I definitely feel that like trying to fit it in when you can, just so that you're not sitting down for 9+ hours a day, so that maybe we make it to 40. That would be pretty nice. But yeah, it's rough too. Just like staying motivated, especially when you're like, oh, I got a video I know I need to put out, and I want to be working on analytics stuff, and I want to do something special for stream. That cuts into like so much of your day-to-day time, especially like me. Like every other time I restart my computer, something breaks in Streamlabs. So then it's like an hour and a half trying to fix what was working an hour ago, and I don't remember what my settings were. I did that a year ago. So it you'd be surprised how often like just clicking the go live button can be a major hassle every day.
Okay, and you said you use Streamlabs, right? That's what I use, Streamlabs too. A lot of people I guess don't, but I've been meaning thinking about, I should say, switching over to regular Streamlabs, but like you said, like you set everything like a year ago. Like, do I want to do this all over again? Like, how is
Yeah.
this all gonna work? And the alerts work a little differently between Streamlabs and regular OBS, and it's so you're probably, for people I've talked to, I don't I guess I don't remember if I asked BT, but you're one of the only people besides myself that use Streamlabs too. So that's kind of interesting, I guess. I don't really have too many problems with it, but yeah, I just know there was that whole controversy of, I don't remember fully
Yeah.
what it was, like a year ago or whatever, but
I also don't fully know what it is. I did try to. So when I first started streaming, I tried to use just OBS, which is the original. For whatever, apparently Streamlabs like took a bunch of how it worked to make Streamlabs OBS. It obviously like people think it's kind of the same thing because they both say OBS in them. But I started on OBS and then something wasn't working one day and I couldn't get it to work. I forget what it was at this point. So I set up Streamlabs and I've just been using that this entire time. And I went to like switch back over to OBS, and for whatever reason, when D2R first came out, my computer could not stream it on OBS without like drastically reducing everything. When D2R first came out, it was like super unoptimized, and like it was literally melting people's GPUs.
yeah, that's
And
where I was at. I was rocking a
yeah,
1650 Super 4 gig card, and trying to stream it and play it was not. Anytime a Lightning Fury would go out, it
just a slideshow. So I I like had to stick with Streamlabs. Now I've gotten a new graphics card. I've upgraded my CPU, so I can probably migrate back over. But that's like kind of like a week long project, and I haven't had a week to myself in about 3 years. So once I have a week to do nothing, I'll figure out how to do all of that. Because honestly, I mean, whatever ends up running it the best is probably the product that I'm going to end up using.
hmm Yeah, that's what just a few people I did talk to, they like swear by the regular OBS, and um I guess I kind of get it, but just when I first started streaming, I just I don't know if you ever seen him or heard of him. There's a YouTube guy called Harris Heller that I watched some of his stuff, and I was, which Streamlabs or which OBS should you use, blah blah blah, and I just decided on Streamlabs, and that's pretty much just how it happened. No particular thing. Just a few different, him and a few other people had said that Streamlabs OBS at the time they had extra features that OBS didn't have that was better for streaming. So that's just how I fell into it. Now it's like, yeah, I don't know. I guess it's not too difficult necessarily, but I actually tried switching to OBS one time and I couldn't get any of the alerts. I couldn't get any of the alerts to work. I was just like, whatever. I'll just stick with Streamlabs, I guess. Like it's not really causing any problems, really, I guess, but it's whatever. So yeah, I'm looking at the time here. I'm gonna have to probably get my daughter ready for bed here real quick. So I think about that time to wrap up. Been great talking to you, and I'm gonna put it in. I'm gonna slide it in at the beginning of the video as well. If you made it around to the end, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. But make sure MacroBioBoi, I'm gonna put a link in the description. Make sure you check out his YouTube. Check out his Twitch. You stream over on Twitch, right?
Yes, sir. Yep. Monday through Friday, 1 to 7, typically PM ET. So you can catch me throughout the week. I try to post this YouTube like at least once a week. I think I did 10 videos in the past 10 days. So like I need to take some kind of break. But yeah, if you're already a huge fan of Phil, maybe you'll like me. Who knows? I think we have a similar appreciation of the game. But yeah, thank you very much for having me, man. This was really fun.
Yeah, dude.
Appreciate
Yeah, I appreciate you doing with me. And yeah, anybody, like I said earlier, he absolutely knows his stuff way better than me. I know you watch Sweet Phil for the good looks, and you can watch Mac for the good looks as well, but he actually has the brains to back it up.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that. You don't need to sell yourself short, man. If I can, I know this is typically like shut up the thing. If I can give you some love, like I said earlier, I really do appreciate how you make content. Like I said, I watch like the vast majority of the stuff that you put out. Not everything needs to be like a super nerd science kind of mathematical breakdown. People need to know how everybody is playing the game, what you like, what your kind of conspiracy theories are. We're all part of the same community. So I really appreciate how you approach the game and how you make your content and just kind of how you carry yourself. So shout outs to you as well, Phil. Thank you.
All right, thanks, man. Appreciate it. So hey, everybody, peace out, and don't forget to keep slaying.
Keep slaying.
Yeah, I love it. Love it.